Hey guys, happy Halloween. We just wanted to come in here with a quick content warning for this episode.
Yeah, we're going to talk about...
We start out talking about semen. We make a lot of jokes about semen.
A lot of jokes about semen. And then we talk about... I don't know. There's briefly discussion of genital mutilation. Is that the correct
I think
content warning?
And it's Cordell's fault.
It is my fault, but it was the scariest thing that I experienced all month.
Yeah.
So remember, if you have to skip this episode due to these content warnings, blame Cordell.
It's Cordell's fault.
We're gonna take a page out of the Free with Ads podcast, and we're going to play a little music, and you can head out if you don't want to listen to this episode because of those content warnings. We'll see you next week.
I'm sorry.
Cordell, sorry. Hi, gang.
Hi.
What's up?
I wasn't here last week.
Correct.
And y'all brought up, well, technically, the incorrect version of a great monster. It's Halloween, by the way, when we're recording this. So let's do a little monster talk.
Spooky.
Y'all were talking about umpires and conquer.
Yeah.
And you came up with this term, cumpires. You thought that you came up with that? You've never heard of a cumpire before?
No.
You've never heard of a cum vampire, a succubus. You've never heard of a succubus or an incubus before. What are you? This is crazy. You took this term perfect for these creatures, cumpires, cum vampires, and gave it to this umpire? I am infuriated. And if I was there, I don't know if I was there during that last episode, I don't know what I would have done.
I have a couple questions about the terminology here.
Yeah.
Specific. So succubus, obviously a cumpire, right? Just
100%.
slurping it up.
Right. Yeah.
100%.
Are we talking cum as in like spermatozoas and whatnot? Or are we talking about cum as in the act of an orgasm?
I think it's gotta be like the substance.
Okay. Then an incubus cannot be a cumpire.
Great movie, by the way, Caleb.
Yeah, thank you. I made it myself.
Okay. But the substance could be, the movie could also be a cumpire story. There's a lot of these cumpire stories in movies, in film, in art. Jennifer's Body.
She's a cumpire for sure.
Do you think? Okay, hold on, Cordell. Slight spoilers for One Piece. So Sammy, you'll have the most opinions on this. In the arc that is called Thriller Bark, there is a villain named Gecko Moria who pulls the souls out of people's bodies and then puts them into dead bodies, making zombies. But the souls are white. Is that cum, and is Gecko Moria just pulling all the cum out of somebody and then putting it in someone else, and then, as we know,
making them pregnant?
Yeah,
with a ghost.
That's basically it. They're pregnant with a ghost. Is that what that song is about? Is that what Walking with a Ghost is about?
Walking with a ghost.
Walking in ghost mess.
Welcome to Chum House.
Unhinged.
Welcome back, everybody.
This is what Halloween's about.
No,
I'm here
hold on.
This is what All Hallows Eve is about.
Listen, we
It's about
already
monsters.
decided that
And scary.
ectoplasm is ghost cum.
We did.
So
A long
This
time
is
ago, we
true.
settled that.
because I had a whole bunch of ghosts that I was giving out to people who emailed us. It didn't go great for fielding. I'm still sorry about that fielding.
Went great for me in Scrimlore.
Hey, that's,
So is what makes a human human? Because some people say that the spirit, the soul, is what like gives the human its humanness. And if ectoplasm is like, the remnants of a ghost, the ghost come. And what are ghosts if not the soul of a person that moved on and had, some beef with somebody that they had to settle or something along those lines? They die in a great passion. Then is what makes humans human? Please discuss.
Welcome to the TED Talk discussion segment.
Yes? I think yes.
Well, here's the thing. What does it mean to be human? Is it only to create other humans?
I think so. I think that is what I've been told.
Okay. That's what you've been told. So in that case, yes. But what is a ghost? Is a ghost's purpose to create other ghosts? No. Normally, they have to, finish what they have to do on Earth.
But
they have to scare people. They have to keep kids away from factories that are going to give a guy a lot of insurance money.
But may I ask, if a ghost, let's say Cordell and I start beefing out of nowhere, okay?
Delicious.
And then I die because I have diabetes. I have not settled my beef with Cordell. Therefore, I am ghost. But if I then kill Cordell before he has settled his stuff, that also makes a ghost. Therefore, a ghost does make other ghosts.
But there is a difference. You made a ghost through the actions of completing your meaning as a ghost.
And therefore
not
died.
Because. Yeah. But not because. You're not making another ghost because it's your purpose. It's the effects of what you're already doing.
This raises a bigger question for me.
Okay.
So we've already established that ghosts are come.
Right.
Spectral.
And that to be human is to make other humans. Right.
Uh-huh.
Now ghosts are come. If two ghosts get ghost freaky, make a ghost baby, and that ghost baby grows up, and that ghost baby, now a ghost adult, dies, do they become a human?
No, they become a ghost. It's kind of like how
Double
if
ghost.
a vampire bites another vampire, they become a double vampire.
So is a ghost like double come?
What do you think Slimer is, Cordell? There's a reason that ghost can produce so much of that good slime.
I've unlocked something. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
A fetish?
Yeah, that is fetish time.
No.
Okay.
Dang it.
Now we know how God impregnated Mary. He just sent the Holy Spirit.
Oh.
Spirits are the same as ghosts, right?
But the Holy Spirit was never a human.
Yes,
Except
Jesus?
People say, Jesus is God's son, but also Jesus is God, the same way the Holy Spirit is also that. So the Holy Spirit was human and also not human.
But Mary becoming pregnant is what gave Jesus to the world.
Which means
Spirit
Jesus
couldn't have been
his
ghost
own
before
father.
Jesus.
But Jesus,
I think we knew that one. I think we knew that one already. I don't think we cracked a code yet.
God's outside of time. Holy Spirit's got to be outside of time too. So Holy Spirit is Jesus'
Which
spirit
means-
after Jesus died and went up to heaven, and it left his spirit there for some reason. So he went back in time to make himself Jesus.
We're going to get angry emails about this one.
Yeah, and that's okay.
You know what?
which to me the concept is funny, right? Like we have just spent the past 9 minutes riffing on ghosts being come.
Yeah.
And there are some people who would get through all of that unflinchingly, and then we'd arrive at
And then there's your parents. So
yes. And then we'd arrive at, oh, now we're talking about Bible jokes, and we've lost a whole demographic immediately
Yeah.
who is
picked
cool
up
with the
another
ghosts
one,
are
though.
come. But we did pick up a different demographic, one that is arguably hornier.
Okay, this is what we just did. Have you been scrolling on TikTok and are like, this is for this type of person? If it's not you, keep scrolling. That's what we did, but the podcast version.
The podcast
we
said,
didn't
hey, a
warn
lot of
them.
you leave.
We just said, hey,
No.
We didn't warn them.
This is what you have to deal with.
This is what we're talking about today.
Well, that is in the nature of the junk house. If we knew what we were going to talk about, we'd be a lot less junky.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just thinking about ghosts now, okay? Because here's the thing. In some belief systems, they treat like addiction, hunger, lusting, that kind of thing. They refer to that as a hungry ghost. And so does that mean in those ones, if we are coming at it from a Judeo-Christian perspective on ghosts, as we are in saying ghosts are come, does that mean there's just a lot of hungry cum? And what is the cum hungry for?
More come.
Life. Think about it. What is the nature of cum? To produce life. So, if you are a being of cum, then you hunger to produce life, which is extra tragic because you're dead. Can't be producing life. You're dead.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy
Happy Halloween.
I want to talk about something that's truly scary to me, which is some news hit yesterday that we should talk about because I think it brings up a point, which is what's scary to me is Swifties. And the Swifties have done a thing, which is they voted in a poll to elect the sexiest podcast. And for some reason, they decided that the Kelsey brothers are the sexiest podcast and podcasters. And we just spent 10 minutes talking about cum, so I think we are the sexiest.
We have to be the sexiest. Especially
So
for that.
I need to say it. I don't think either of the Kelsey brothers could be categorized as sexy.
I
the-
agree.
The reason behind that is not that they are unattractive, but sexy is a very specific kind of attractive.
Yes.
Now, granted, more of us look more like the Kelsey brothers than not.
You have a
So
point.
I don't know that we could qualify for the sexy category, but I do think our content is sexier. The content of our
agree.
heart. We had a whole episode about docking. Like, I think we are the sexier podcast.
I think so. Like, we could change the meaning of junk to down there, and it would just make
What
a
if-
lot more sense.
What if it always meant that? Kind of.
Welcome
The
to
penis
Dick
house.
House. Welcome, everybody. This week on Cock and Ball House, we're here to talk about the one thing we're all thinking about, which is actually
The Kelsey
cognitive behavioral therapy. We're finally discussing CBT, and we're really getting into it.
Caleb, tell me how CBT works.
So
buddy.
CBT obviously works. First of all, typically the sub in the situation is tied down in some fashion, I believe is what happens. And then the therapist asks them to reflect on their past.
I like the like blending of these in the wrong way, because then you get cognitive behavioral torture and cock and ball therapy if you splice these in the middle.
Then the high heels come out. The high heels are coming out on this one. So
And see, our content is so much sexier than
we are way sexier than the Kelseys. I watched Maxine yesterday.
Ooh.
is it good? My wife and I have been trying to think if we want to watch that.
Have you seen X or Pearl?
Not yet. We want to watch all three, but we're just debating.
I've seen X.
I thought Maxine was a well done movie. I generally enjoyed it. I have to give a content warning for those of you with balls.
Oh no.
Spoilers here.
Balls?
Is there a lot of balls?
So not a lot of balls. There is the hardest part of the movie for me to sit through, and the hardest part for me to talk about is there's a scene early in the movie where where a man pulls a knife on her in an alley and is like walking toward her, and who knows what he's going to do. So she pulls a gun out and is like, yeah, that's right. She's like, I'm in charge now, strip down. She makes him take off his clothes and kneel and like put the gun in his mouth. And then she makes him get face down, put his butt up. And then she says like, she says a cool line and then stomps his balls with her heel onto the ground. Oh. And it shows on screen the balls bursting.
Whoa. I wanna die.
And that's the scariest thing.
Makes me wanna die.
That's the scariest thing about the movie.
So maybe don't watch the movie, Caleb, is what we're saying.
I think I'm gonna skip out on that one. I may watch the other two, but I might skip out on that one. Man. I'm in pain thinking about that.
Yeah, I'm really sorry for listeners. Like Samantha, it may behoove you to put like a legit content warning in front of that one, because yikes, it hurts me to think about.
I'll probably throw something at the beginning, be like, "Hey, this episode we talk a lot about semen and some horror stuff." So, and
also
cognitive behavioral therapy. I think that needs a content warning, because some people are not prepared for the CBT life.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are not.
You have a strong confusion here, friend.
Listen, I think they're tied together more than we want to give credit for. Okay, because like, you know what?
Shout out Freud.
He knew what he was talking about a little bit. He had ideas,
psychoanalysis.
He had an idea, and he really went for it. That's the Freud model, is really going for it. And I think Junk House really embodies everything Freud talked about so well, in the fact that he really went for it, and we go for it every week.
We should change it to Freud House.
Yes. Thank you.
Freud made psychoanalysis, not cognitive behavioral therapy. Anyway, good jokes, but I was dying.
Freud House.
But anyway,
Freud House.
I think
I'm down with Freud House.
I think there are sexier podcasts that exist, and this is one of them. And I just like, can I be real with y'all?
Yeah,
come close. And Cordell, you may feel this too. How am I supposed to look my wife in the eye, knowing that I lost to freaking Travis and Jason Kelsey?
Mm-hmm.
One of them is really just famous, because he played football and then wound up being brothers with the guy that's dating Taylor Swift. And the other one is really just famous because he's dating Taylor Swift. And guess what? I don't like Taylor Swift. And
I think Jason is the far more relatable of the Kelseys. He's been in a lot of Buffalo Wild Wings ads where he's
As he
sad because his
should.
brother won't eat wings with him.
yeah,
And the big Buffalo mascot is encouraging him to eat more wings.
that's very
Wow.
relatable.
Right? I too have the Buffalo Wild Wings mascot in my brain telling me to eat more wings all hours of the day.
I'm not a huge
Every
fan
morning.
of the BWs. I'm not a huge fan of the Buffalo Wild Wings, but I'm a fan of the Wingstop.
I do think
And-
Wingstop is superior.
Agreed.
Is Wingstop better when it's not in Memphis?
Yes.
Okay.
I've had one in
there's
Memphis,
a-
and I was like, "This is bad." There's one.
There's
here
a
in
lot of
Tuscaloosa, so
restaurants.
good.
Okay. I'll have to visit you again to try more restaurants because there's a lot of restaurants I had for the first time in Memphis and I did not enjoy. That everyone's like, oh yeah, you just got to get out of there.
Yeah.
You just gotta not be there. When you're
So-
walking in Memphis, the food tastes bad.
When you're walking in Memphis, you instantly get a little bit depressed. Is what I learned from living there for a while. There's yeah.
I think Ghosts Being Come puts an extra strong spin on Elvis's Crank Palace
Thank
Yes.
you.
being haunted by a ghost
Mm-hmm.
that is kind of an Ouroboros of spiritual essence at that point. A being coming eternally.
That's beautiful.
That really is beautiful. I have not thought about Elvis's Crank Palace in a very
In a
long
minute.
time.
Same.
Right?
And now I'm curious how it's doing. I'm curious if they still show off the crank chair. If they still show off Elvis's favorite
They-
cranking chair.
They do, and they still have a warehouse full of the other chairs.
Now, okay, we've discussed how a porn theater at maximum capacity is half full. And what I'm thinking is, do you think you sit in the same chair when you go multiple times?
I personally
I
think I
wouldn't.
would. Oh.
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 Well, I like
Debate.
consistency. So
I
here's
like-
the thing.
Yeah.
If I'm to become a regular at a Crank Palace, I would think that the other regulars and I would have an understanding of the appropriate distance to sit away from each other.
Mhm.
And so I would go to my same spot so the other regulars would know how to space themselves out.
See, I think that's fair, but I would go to a different place because I don't want to be wearing in the one same spot. I don't want to be I don't want to remember how many times I've been here before. I want to be there. I want it to be a fresh. I want it to be like I'm there the first time every time. And I'm going to do that by switching spots. I have some more important information though.
Okay. I have a
Googled-
joke after that.
Okay. I Googled Elvis Crank Palace because I was just like, I'm not going to look up the theater name because I just want to see what brings this up. There is apparently a 2020 novella set in the Maze Runner universe known as
No.
Crank Palace. I was trying to see if I could buy it on Amazon.
James Dashner, why would you do this?
Yeah,
'Cause
you
they-
can buy it on
they-
Amazon. You
had
can buy a
to
paperback
know.
for $10.
They call the zombies in Maze Runner cranks. I just remembered that.
I see. Here's the thing. I never read Maze Runner.
It's a
because-
bad book. I
yeah.
got 10 pages in and quit.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we're gonna read Crank Palace though, live on air.
Anyway,
we
back
get
to-
2 pages in, and it's just really
Okay, can we punch up the Maze Runner plot?
Yes, but we need to hear
Can I say my
Caleb's-
funny
yeah.
joke first?
Okay,
this
Caleb,
is back
be
to
funny
the,
on our joke
This is back to
podcast.
the
Go
if
ahead.
you sit in the same place debate. As the great poet once said, 2 seats diverged in a dim lit crank room, and I took the seat less sat upon, and that made all the difference.
See, he agrees with me. I'm right.
Yeah,
I'm
Robert Haas wrote that beautiful poem.
Sorry. Robert Cox. We got to be real about who's writing Crank Palace.
I was being a little bit more subtle with Robert Haas. Haas being similar to Hogg.
I just thought you said Robert Frost straight up, and I was like, nah, he was a poet.
No, I said Robert
Haas.
I was being very clever. Here's a question before we move on to punching up the Maze Runner.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've always wondered this about porn theaters.
Yeah.
Was the expectation that people were gonna like crank? Or was the idea that you'd sit and watch a film doing nothing and leave and go home? Like, I've genuinely wondered that.
I think they knew cranking was gonna happen.
But was their policy to not allow cranking?
I don't want to Google it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna fully believe
this.
that this is like a thing that it's like if you look up like the idea of a porn theater, it like goes all the way back to ancient Greece, and they used to just like hire actors to like do it on stage and people would watch. And I fully believe ancient Greece, there was no such thing as shame. They just cranked left and right.
That's fair. Also, in Greek theater, women did not act, so it would have been a man pretending to be a woman for such performances. I don't think they are in the public record, but I think they would have existed. So Caleb, you never read or seen the Maze Runner series?
No.
It's dumb. Can I walk you through the general plot of the series?
Sure.
Yes.
So the first book has a neat premise. A bunch of young adults, a bunch of teenage boys, and one girl, are in a clearing surrounded by thick walls. They wake up there with no memories before being in the clearing. Daily, 2 big doors open up into this maze with a bunch of shifting hallways and monsters that have poisonous bites and whatnot.
Okay.
They can't get out, and they theorize the way out is through the maze. And that's the concept, is that like the maze runners try to find a way out of the maze, but have to dodge getting eaten and killed and have to come back and continue mapping it out. But they can't map it because it's always changing. So that's the whole concept, is like, hey, we're trying to escape this unescapable maze that we're trapped in and we don't know why. And that's kind of a neat concept.
Yeah.
It's almost Cube-esque. They get out of the maze at the end of the first book/movie, and they learn that a company has been putting them in the maze to in some way test for immunity to a virus that has been taking over the world, turning people into cranks, which are zombies, and also making the world a desert, I guess. I don't understand it, but they were in the maze to research this virus. And so the next 2 books and movies are all about they're zombie movies now.
Okay.
And they're fighting this evil company while also like trying to escape and survive.
And the company's called Wicked?
Yes, the company's called Wicked.
Oh my god.
Okay, so here's Maze Runner, the first book came out in 2009. What the heck?
Yeah. Okay, so the world was devastated by a series of massive solar flares. But yeah, so it's like in Scorch Trials, they got through the maze, but now they're in the Scorch, a barren wasteland left burned and scarred by violent sun flares. What's worse, the people of the Scorch are being consumed by an infection known as the flare, corrupting their very minds until they lose all that makes them human. And then in the Death Cure, they're just going up against Wicked while trying to dodge like the zombies.
And from what I'm reading, every large remaining city in the world had a special holding place for cranks, known as the Crank Palace. Every large city in the world
Had a crank palace.
has a Crank Palace.
So, okay, here is my pitch for how we make Maze Runner, frankly, good. Okay?
Yeah.
Right.
Number one,
And it's poorly
they're still
written.
called cranks.
Yes.
There's still Crank Palaces all over the world.
Still,
100%.
we gotta have so many. We have to emphasize the crank palaces, not right away, but we gotta build up to the crank palaces. But cranks are still here. The idea of an ever-changing maze, good,
Yeah.
like that, but I don't like the weird dynamic of a bunch of dudes and one girl. That's a weird dynamic to have. We need more women. So I'm gonna say, hear me. This is just I'm just speculating here. 12 boys, 12 girls. Okay. They have the maze still. The maze is always changing, which is cool. They all have to fight to the death.
Each other?
Yeah, they have to fight each other,
Okay.
and only one can win. And
Do they win something? Do they win like food or...
no, they just get to live, and that's it.
We call
And
it the Crank Games.
it's the crank games. Wait, okay, wait. Okay, that was all fun and stuff.
Wait,
Okay.
so I can explain why they're in the maze a little bit better now, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Okay,
So, the kill zone was the part of the brain affected by the flare, which turns you into the cranks. Wicked
Okay.
mapped the brain patterns and reactions in the kill zone of those immune to the flare in order to develop a cure. So they sent a number of subjects into the trials to obtain these patterns.
Okay.
So there's also a counter. A drug known as the Bliss could limit the kill zone's activity since the flare ate away at the brain faster than when the brain works harder. So they essentially did opioids to slow it down.
Oh.
so
So
the cranks lead to
reason.
bliss.
So people who are infected with the flare take Bliss to slow their infection to let them not become cranks as fast. But again, here's the problem, right? This guy's like, oh, it's a zombie apocalypse in a world devastated by solar flares, and the first book is them navigating a maze they don't know about. They were put in the maze because they were immune, and they were trying to map their brains, solving the maze to understand the kill zone to develop a cure. None of that makes any sense. And it's 3 different book concepts crammed into one in a bad way. It's unsolvable puzzle that gets abandoned after the first book. Then you find out it's actually zombies mixed with Mad Max, kinda like the solar flares and whatnot ruining the world. It's too many things, and beyond that, it's dumb.
I
So we need. I
have
want
a
to keep
pitch.
3 things to prove we can do it better than James Dashner.
I have a pitch.
okay.
I think we keep the zombies.
Cranks.
We keep the cranks. We keep the ever-changing maze.
Okay, I was thinking this way as well.
And
What's our third
keeping-
thing?
Main thing was the human element. We
Okay.
also have humans in the maze. I think we don't. My pitch, sharks, is that we never show outside of the maze. We keep it
Yes.
vague why the maze is even there. We start off the movie kind of similar, or the book, similar to like Cube, where you just really don't know anything, but you're with these human characters. And they
Right.
start dying. Maybe there's also traps in the maze. Maybe. We don't know. But they start dying randomly. We just are like, oh shit, what's going on? And maybe halfway in the movie, then we figure out, oh, one of the dudes that died at the beginning of the movie is a zombie. Holy shit, there's also zombies in this maze that we have to deal with. What is going on? Maybe they're starting to get sick throughout the movie, so we get a little bit of that. Really, the pitch is eldritch horror, unknowable horror in an ever-changing maze with these human characters that are there. We don't know. And then at the end, they all die probably. In the maze, you just see the maze shifting one more constantly.
So hear me out. Hear me out.
It needs, the pitch needs some punching up.
So I like the Eldritch angle on this, but I think we keep the sun, the zombies. I think we keep the original 3 ideas and we pull them together better than James Dashner and his little brain could.
Okay.
So the solar flare, we don't know what caused the solar flare, and it's different. Instead of sending the normal radiation, the sun is sending like mutating rays.
Ooh,
right? Like
okay.
the radiation coming from the sun has changed. That's the eldritch horror of it. For some reason, something that we all depend on for life, for unknown reasons, has changed what it does, and it's hurting us. So people are getting sick from basically the constant bombardment of radiation from the sun now. So the name of the game is staying in the shadows as long as you can, as often as you can, staying out of the sunlight.
It's
and
the
so
light. It's not even just flares. It's something about the light from the sun.
Yes, it's the sunlight is now bad. The world is still normal, but the plants are starting to mutate. Like instead of like, oh, it's all a desert now, the world is mutating. Everything that is in the sunlight that is living is changing and becoming more dangerous and less healthy, right? So humans are moving underground. That's where the maze is.
Ooh, okay.
Humans are moving inside their buildings underground. They've built a maze and they try to lure the cranks into the maze to keep them trapped because they can't get out of an ever-shifting maze. They're looking for a cure, so they don't want to just kill them out. But at the same time, they need somewhere to put them, so they drop them into the maze. But things have become brutal. It's been like 10, 15 years since this all started. The street urchins, the poor, they're doing what they can to survive. And they're really good at running through the shadows and diving through tenements and whatnot. So anyone who gets caught committing a crime gets dropped into the maze. And that's the freaking maze runner right there.
Yeah.
The sun is dangerous. You're underground where it might be safe, except you're in the place where they're putting all the zombies because you committed a small crime like Jean Valjean.
24601?
Yes. That's my pitch to punch up.
I think that's perfect. The maze also like has a real world like connection you could do, because the main way you protect yourself from radiation for any experiments is like you have to have a wall, you have to have ways so the radiation won't bounce out and still get you. So of course you would make a maze so the radiation, even though it's like, so it's so powerful that it bounces even further or whatever, because of whatever, you're making a giant maze so the radiation just can't even get close as well.
Exactly. And so this gives a reason for big cities to have crank palaces. They're locking them up to protect the general population from the mutants while trying to save them too. But at the same time, they've evolved and changed, and humanity has become more inhumane and in desperation of trying to fix the crime problem. But they're using all of the interior stuff is either for people, for inside farms to like grow food, or for like storage. So everything is inside now. Nothing's outside. So they don't have any place to put criminals. Prisons are overcrowded. They've started just dropping criminals into the mazes because it's the only spot they can put them.
I like this a lot. I
And
also
so the
quick
maze,
pitch.
yeah.
Quick addition. We also have a different form of zombies that are smaller and faster, and we call them flicks. So we got flick palaces and crank palaces.
Okay, I like it. Because at this point, the cranks could kind of bloat up and be your traditional slow zombies.
Yeah.
But then the flicks get a little more emaciated and quick.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually a compelling story because then it's more accurate to human nature. It's not just some random government entity doing whatever. It's not called Wicked because that's the dumbest name.
It's called Elphaba.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's called The Wizard of Oz.
It's Elphaba, and this is Wicked. They're
is-
defying gravity.
Adele
But no,
Dazeem.
and then the maze runners are people simply trying to survive in a labyrinth filled with zombies.
Yeah. That's the story we get.
And the reason there's a glade that they get dropped into is because they don't want to be inhumane, right? They don't want to just feed them to the cranks and flicks.
Yeah.
But they also don't want them to be super safe, so they're in a glade, and they're like, if they want to connect with other survivors or have a chance to get out, they got to run the maze.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And maybe
I don't know
there's
why
even
there would
like
be a way out of the maze, but that's
Yeah.
whatever.
No, there is no way out of the maze.
Right. So maybe occasionally as the maze shifts, corridors open that make the glades they're in unsafe and they have to keep moving.
Mm.
There we go.
Okay. I like it.
And we call it Maze Walker
That's good.
because
Let's just call it Maze Cranker.
The Crank Maze.
The Crank Maze. That's it. Yep.
Who up cranking their maze? We have 2 podcast episodes in the same month that are both like cranking your maze, cranking your crank. Caleb's thinking about something.
I'm
Caleb's been
thinking
hard
about a
this whole
lot of
time.
things. Because one of y'all, both of y'all, kind of referenced Eldritch stuff, and I have a lot of knowledge about the Eldritch gods of H.P. Lovecraft, and like just because I loved I loved reading his stuff, and I read all of it, and so I'm trying to think which Eldritch being would fit within this narrative, and it's been kind of it's just been in my head, kind of like which one is kind of what I'm trying to think, because like I like there's like the great old ones, and then there's the great ones, and then there's the outer gods, and there's just a lot to like think about, and my brain was just kind of spiraling on, well, which one would work the best, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of like, I mean, Lovecraft is cool. The mythos is cool. This like pantheon of things is neat. You know, they're beyond our understanding. We don't know what function they served or what purpose they existed, or if they had a function or a purpose, they're just there. I don't know. I like the idea, like the side of it that I like about cosmic horror is sometimes it's not a conscious thing at all. You know, rather than the sun being a thing or something changing the sun with intent, the sun just changed. It just happened. There's nothing to blame. No one at fault. It just freaking happened. And the world is destroyed because of it.
Can I tell y'all a little bit of Lovecraft lore that like
Please.
I think about? So we all know Cthulhu exists, right? Like that's like the big thing. Did you know it is possible to kill Cthulhu?
No, I didn't.
Yeah. So, but here's the problem. There's also this thing called Catilla, which is Cthulhu's daughter.
Okay.
But if Cthulhu dies for any reason, Catilla gives birth to Cthulhu.
Ouch.
Yes. It's like it's just like one of those things it's weird, and it like my brain like tries to like think of like, how do you think of that? Like, how does that become the thing you think of and write about, you know?
Yeah. But like you're saying, that does mean Cthulhu can die.
In theory. Yes.
In theory.
Well, not in a meaningful way.
Yeah. Not forever.
Yeah. My favorite one to think about though is one named Azathoth, which is like basically the generator of all of them.
Azathoth.
Yeah. His title is the Blind Idiot God.
Idiot.
Dumbass.
And
Cooked him.
Yeah.
Why is he called that?
Because he does.
Because he does not consciously do anything. He's not a conscious being.
He's kind of like an animal.
Yeah, it's kind of, well, it's less like an animal. Imagine just like almost like if
like bacteria or
it's
something?
like a mass of just matter that has no will and has no like thoughts or anything. It just exists, and from it comes everything. Like it just creates. So like its names in like the thing other than Azathoth are the nuclear chaos, the Daemon Sultan, the blind idiot god, and the Lord of all things. Those are kind of its general names. And then it has one son and two offspring. Because only one of them like has gendered in a way that's Nyarlathotep, and that's the son. And then the other two are the Nameless Mist and the Darkness, which are the two offspring. And from those three comes everything else. So everyone thinks Cthulhu's the most powerful because he's got the most name recognition, but he is like weak in comparison to a lot of the other like gods.
He's just a little baby.
Yeah, he is Azathoth's, if you track the lineage, Azathoth's great-great-grandson.
He did a little baby with a little tentacles on his face.
He is just a little baby.
He did a little guy.
That's canon. Just a little guy.
Canon. And he dreams stuff sometimes.
He does. He lives little snooze, little dreams. Little sweet guy.
And it scales people.
Oh, no.
They get little and scale.
Oh no, he's dreaming. Oh no.
Oh, you little scared boy. Also, Cthulhu did appear on the Massachusetts presidential ballot in 2016.
As he should.
So I would have voted for him if I were a Massachusetts resident in 2016.
I probably would have for fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. You know? They also have Latin names, like how like humans are like Homo sapien. All of them have like a Latin name, which is very fun. So
one of my favorite things about Lovecraft mythos is how little of it in the current sense HP did.
Yeah, a lot.
Like most of Lovecraft mythos was other people riffing on it because it's all public domain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he did this little drawing of Cthulhu sitting on a box.
Yeah,
but other than that, he didn't do much.
He didn't do much.
It's a cute little drawing of Cthulhu sitting on a box, though.
I will say there is a like distinct difference between Lovecraft mythos as Lovecraft did it and Lovecraft mythos as random nerds a century later did it. You can really tell the difference of like, oh, that one's that's not as good. It's like,
Wait, on which
oh yeah,
side?
this unknowable thing, and then they're like, oh yeah, Cthulhu's got a daughter.
He's got yeah, and the daughter's gonna give birth to him whenever you know.
Yeah. It is really wild. And some of the modern stuff is really good.
Some of it's awesome.
Some of it's awesome.
Yeah.
And honestly, having read a lot of the H.P. Lovecraft, or all of like H.P. Lovecraft, and I have like a book that's like a compilation of his works over there, you know.
Mhm.
The stuff that he wrote that was genuinely very good has nothing to do with what we assume Lovecraft wrote, you know? Like Call of Cthulhu and Mountains of Madness are like the only two eldritch god mythos stories that are really worth reading. And then all of his stuff that is not about that is actually very good.
Like Color Out of Space? Or is that bad? I know the movie's good with Nick
Color
Cage.
Out of Space book, short story, not good.
Okay.
Movie, good.
It's like one of those where like the concept was cool, but HP didn't really fully flesh it out enough.
Yeah. No, not really.
Boo.
Like, because like there is like he is very good at like he is very good at describing things. But the problem is with eldritch horror, the less you describe, the more scary it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen King, there's a little thing he said that I'm sure I've talked about before. It's one of my favorite like thoughts he shared, and he's like, describe a hallway, and on the other side of that door, at the end of the hallway there's a door, and something is behind that door, and you slowly walk down the hallway. And you're more and more scared of the door, and you get there, and you slowly turn the handle, and you throw it open, and it's a 10-foot tall praying mantis. Now that's scary, but I guarantee whatever faceless thing you considered before the door was open was scarier than the praying mantis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like what the unseen is always scarier.
I mean, that's why, like, to me, or like in my opinion, one of the scariest things about The Shining, as in the movie, the book, I don't have the patience to read Stephen King, to be real with y'all. But the movie The Shining, part of what's scary is you never know what really is making Jack go that crazy. Like he is. I know in the book it's like, oh, he's alcoholic. And it's the lack of alcohol and all that stuff. And
well, it's just the place. It's the location. Something about being there. Like, yeah.
I got to see the hotel where they filmed that, like in the distance. It's scary to look at. It's like actually scary to look at. I did not get to drive up and see it.
It's really cool.
It's like up in Estes Park.
Yeah, Stanley Hotel.
I think you can still stay there.
Book rooms. They didn't film the internals there.
Yeah,
so it's all the external.
Wait, is it the Stanley Hotel? Is where they did the exterior?
Yeah,
that place is mega haunted.
Yeah,
like on its own. Unrelated to Shining at all. The Stanley Hotel is mega haunted.
From what I remember about The Shining, it was written after Stephen King went to the Stanley Hotel. Like he was in the Stanley Hotel and experienced all like thought about or whatever. Yeah. But he started The Shining because of the Stanley Hotel. And then they filmed it.
My wife would know. I could probably ask her. She's a big Stephen King fan.
Yeah. The Stanley Hotel served as the inspiration for the Overlook Hotel and Stephen King's novel and film adaptation.
Wow. I love things like that. The one that comes to mind that is so good is The Haunting of Hill House. Both book and show. My favorite kind of horror, I think, is the kind where it's like, well, honestly, there's no explanation for what's occurring. Like Haunting of Hill House, the place is bad. The house is bad. Yeah, it's got ghosts, but the ghosts are there because the house is wrong.
Yeah.
Like something about the structure as it was built is not good. And that doesn't make full sense, and you can't understand it, but it doesn't make it any less real what it's doing and what is happening.
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing is fantastic to me. You know, it's like 1408. That's a Stephen King short story that is so dang good. Y'all ever read that one or see the John Cusack movie?
No.
1408 is about a room in a hotel. It's the Dolphin Hotel or something. And this guy is like a horror writer, and he stays in haunted places and writes about them and debunks them.
Okay.
And he's very cocky, and he's going to stay at room 1408 in the Dolphin Hotel, where so many people have died and no one ever stays the full night. And the story is what he experiences in that room. And the movie's the same thing.
Okay.
And something about the room is simply wrong. And what I love about that one is it's not the whole hotel. It is one room out of the whole building, just one room that for some reason is messed up. It's like that can't make sense. And it's incredible. Or another Stephen King one, it's like Tales from a... I'm going to have to look up the title. Tales from... It might be from a Buick.
From Sonic the Hedgehog?
Tales from Sonic the Hedgehog.
From a Buick 8 is what it's called. And it is like... There's a Buick 8 on the side of a road that a bunch of state troopers, it's collected stories from it, but like something about this vehicle is just like a portal to another dimension. And the unknowable and unexplainable continually pour out of it and claim lives, and it's just a car on the side of a road.
Yeah, that's what Christine is from, right?
I don't think so.
Killer. Here, let me see. What does Wikipedia say? Tales from a Buick Gate. Yeah, it's a horror novel by American writer Stephen King. This is the second. Oh, okay. Yeah. This is the second novel by Stephen King. So it's related because Christine is the first one he wrote that features a supernatural car. That's all I remembered was a supernatural car and Stephen King.
And they're both set in Western Pennsylvania.
Okay. So he's written two. That's very funny.
Right. And so it's like, but it's that sort of plot where it's like, what the premise can't make sense, and that makes it more intimidating and scary to me.
Yeah.
That nothing about this will ever be explainable. Love that.
Have y'all ever seen Dark?
No.
Dark. It was a German show, I think.
Was it the Netflix show?
Yes. It was the whole the whole premise was there's a hole in the ground that connects different times. So it's like you crawl in the hole and you pop out on the other side in like 1988 or something. But it was another one that was just really interesting of just random location. Nothing really crazy happened to it. It's just a hole in time.
Right. Well,
I'm always just going to be a fan of The Thing. You know,
The Thing, yeah.
It's so good, and it's just like it hits on that thing where it's just like, how did the thing get there? We kind of know. It's like the thing is still around. Probably. Who is the thing at the end of the movie? I don't know.
Where we all are.
Y'all want to hear my genuine theory
Well,
about The Thing?
Yes.
It's both.
Both of them at the end?
I think both, yeah.
So like they won?
I think so.
Or is it they're both, but they both don't know that they're each of them are also the alien?
Exactly. That's what I think it is. Is that neither of them know if the other one is, and so it does just kind of become a standoff of like.
I don't know. I think because the thing knows the thing, right? It knows its own component parts. I like the theory that it's neither, and that they're just going to die not trusting each other out in the cold. Both content with the idea that even if the other one is the thing, it's over. And then there's the classic theory of, oh, the drink he has in his hand is like gasoline in a bottle, and he's using it as a test. And so whenever Childs drinks it and doesn't flinch or react to it being gasoline, that McCready knows it's him. I don't like that one as much. That implies so much forethought that there's no hint at.
Yeah. I just like movies, man.
Right.
And it's Halloween.
Yeah.
Halloween. When you're listening to this,
Halloween.
It's November 1st, but
We're recording it on Halloween. And you know what? Is always good and never needs to be explained. It's our opening and closing theme songs. Billy Freak Out by the Reverend Horton Heat off of the album Smoke 'Em If You Got 'Em. And it's a banger.
It's a banger, mate. You know, it's also a banger. This podcast, even though we started out about talking about cum, this ended up being a really good episode. And I don't know why I'm doing this terrible accent. But if you liked this episode just as much as I did, why don't you rate and review us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts? And we also got a YouTube. Yeah, watch us on there. TikTok, Twitter as well. Junkhouse Pod.
You ever think about how much we talk about cum and wonder if our parents are proud?
No.
I never.
And by that, I mean, it's email time.
We do have an email this week.
We do have an email. I have intentionally not read it. So it's from Fielding. Did you know, Junkhouse, did you know swing states are called that because anyone can just swing by and vote for whatever? I've already went to Michigan and Pennsylvania so far and voted almost 100 times in 4 different municipalities. LOL. It's awesome. Free fun for the family. Thank you for subscribing to Did You Know? Special Election Edition. If you're still in line to vote when the polls close today, stay in line.
Yes, that is true. If you were still in line and the polls close, stay in line.
Stay in line.
That is very true. And go vote. Go vote when you get the chance. If you can vote early and you're able to, go do that. If you're not able to, go vote. November 5th is the big day. So as you're listening to this, you got 4 days.
Got 4 days. I'm glad that we talked about fake horror and not the real life horror that is going on. That is this election cycle.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
But as we say every week.
As we say every week, at the end of the day, the things that matter most are the people nearest to you, whom you love and care for, regardless of what happens.
Exactly.
It's a psychobilly freakout!